And we're back, everybody. This is part 2 of our videos talking about summoners. I specifically said that I'd come back and show you the different spells that they have available for them from level 1 all the way up. Of course, we should also talk about their cantrips. So here's their cantrips: Acid Splash, Daze, Guidance, which is particularly useful, Light, and Resistance. Less useful, I should say, for Guidance, since we have, with these mods, the ability to do things like, what's it called, Aid Another, where you can give them attack bonus or armor class bonus, and that's a +2 versus that specific cantrip. But that cantrip is more useful than you think. Guidance is actually used for me when I'm trying to do soloing and try to do XP share off, where the person that does the XP check or the skill check gets all the XP if they pass it, because that's a bonus to saving throws and skill checks, and it only lasts for a minute or until it discharges. But remember, you can also use Guidance to find hidden perception items, because you don't see the perception check, but when Guidance fires off and you see it drop off your character, you know that, oh gee, there was probably a perception check that I failed. Time to reload to an earlier save point and walk on through that area. So that's a common thing for me to do. And of course, the Acid Splash, you gotta love a spell that literally it can be infinitely used, can get sneak attack damage even though you're not going to get much of that. It's a raise spell, so it's easier to hit the target, and of course there's no spell resistance for it, so again, a solid spell. But let's actually break into each of them. So I have them listed from spell level 1 to spell level 6. What you have to do is, again, I have to level up so you can see the spell pick. So for level 1, doesn't matter for this stuff, we're just going to dump it in anywhere. For level 1, sure, I want that. That sounds great. I want to get, so Snowball and Shield are usually my 2 staples that I pick at level 1. Again, for obvious reasons, you're a conjurer, your summoner, says it in the goddamn name. Snowball's amazing, and if you get spell focus conjuration and maybe even greater spell focus conjuration, it gives a bonus to the DC check on Snowball. Snowball, of course, does up to 5d6 of damage if, and I'm not normally going to do this on these type of builds, because we're a spontaneous caster, but if you did, say, Meta Magic Rods for intensified Meta Magic, you could actually intensify this spell and get it up to 10d6 of damage. That's not bad. And that's all damage that can't be resisted with spell resistance, because this is a no spell resistance spell. The saving throw is even better. The saving throw has nothing to do with whether or not you take the damage. It has to do whether you're stunned or staggered or what the hell it is. So again, this spell is amazing. You definitely want it. Even if you're not a dex-based build, you probably still want to pick up Snowball, in my opinion. You have very few offensive spells, as you'll see. Shield, another staple. I could be convinced that Shield's not as necessary on a straight-up summoner build, and the reason for that is this. Show it to you. Because a straight-up summoner gets Shield Ally and Greater Shield Ally, that is a shield bonus, just like Shield Spell. It will not protect you from Magic Missile, of course. You can't split it, of course, so this is literally you get it or you don't. But Shield Spell does still have utility for me, so there is that. Excuse me, goodness, I got a little throat tickle going on here. Let's see, so for the rest of level 1, of course, Corrosive Touch, again, another amazing conjuration spell, 5d4 of damage, acid damage, and I point out the cold versus the acid damage because, again, remember, summoners can go Draconic Disciple if they so choose, or Dragon Disciple, excuse me. And you need to decide what kind of dragon you're associated with, because you get more damage based on the damage type of the dragon. So if you're an acid dragon, this could get 5d4 plus 5. 10d4 plus 10 if you intensify it and have that Dragon Disciple from an acid dragon standpoint. Same with Snowball. It can be 5d6, or it can be 5d6 plus 5 if you, of course, have cold dragon blood in your veins. As far as other offensive stuff, notice, of course, you have your Ray of Sickening. I know that's not per se an attack. I mean, it does it to hit check, but it basically just, it's a save or suck spell. Fortitude save negates it completely. There's spell resistance associated with it, and it's a necromancy spell, which is not necessarily a cup of tea, but again, you already got one raise spell, why not grab another? And this one, really, if they does affect them, it sickens them for a good long while, more than you'll need. And that sickened condition, for those of you that don't know, this is not the same as fatigue or exhaustion. This is not the same as the one that's making them nauseated, that's making them puke their guts out. This is just a massive penalty to their swing, to their skill checks, to their ability checks, to their damage, I think, maybe even their armor class. I think one of those is not true, probably the armor class. But it's a big fuck you to the bad guy. And again, that's not a bad spell to have, so I commonly take that. Now, On the list, of course, enlarged person, reduced person, can't say enough good things about those. Remember, you are still a person, unless, of course, you make yourself an undead character. These will work on your Eidolons if the Eidolons behave like a person. And I can't really say how that works other than to literally show it to you. So literally, if you have like a pet Eidolon that's a cat, they're not persons. So it's not something that's going to work on them. But if it literally is a humanoid, I believe in most instances they will work. I haven't tested it on all of them, but I believe that that's true. And even if they don't, they work on you. And the one that you would want, of course, is probably reduced person, especially for a dex-based build. More dexterity based on size, not based on enhancement. Easier for you to hit them because you're a teeny tiny person, especially if you're already a halfling or a gnome. You're an even teenier, tinier person, so it's even harder for them to hit you and easier for you to hit them. Bonus to armor, bonus to your swing, bonus to your dex, bonus to reflexes. Just an amazing spell all around. For the other stuff, of course, Expeditious Treat. Everybody likes being able to move faster. There's nothing wrong with that. For Conjuration, for an attack, supposedly your crowd control spell. Again, another Conjuration spell, so another DC bonus if you get spell-focused Conjuration. Of course, no spell resistance. Again, another staple with many of the Conjuration spells. Not all, but enough to make you fucking happy, which is another reason why that 4-level dip, at least in Dragon Disciple, is not going to be the worst thing ever for your build. Notice new spells, so like Life Conduit and Lesser Rejuvenate Eidolon are new and specific for the Summoner. So Life Conduit, if you read it here, you can spend a swift action to transfer 1 to 6 hit points between you and your Eidolon, whether it's either you siphoning off hit points from them per round, and again, it lasts for multiple rounds, or vice versa, where you're feeding your HP to them. Basically, this is using that Life Conduit ability you already have, where it takes a point away, gives a point back. It's only 1 per round normally. This is basically a way to juice it up a little bit, if I'm understanding this right. Long Arm, this is just new because of the mods that we're using, but still Long Arm's nice because, again, personal effect on you. Remember, personal spells for summoners can be cast on their Eidolon, so this is something you can cast on your goddamn Eidolon, give them a better reach, and this should work, I believe, on all the Eidolons. This should not be a person-specific thing. This should be something you could give to them. And certainly, if it's not something you can give to them as an individual, you have the improved spell share ability that you could unlock, and therefore pass that on to your Eidolon, where you get half of this minute, they get the other half of the minute per level. And again, that's something that would benefit the both of you, making you guys fucking like ridiculous Reach Ginsu chef sons of bitches. Mage Armor, while it's a Conjuration spell, I don't care about that. Remember, you as a summoner have the ability to wear light armor. There's no reason for you not to wear a chain shirt or something similar. So again, this is less important for you, but remember, your Eidolon can't wear armor. So the ability to give them fucking 4 armor points for many, many, many hours is a solid fucking upgrade. Just saying, this is a very nice spell for you to have. I'm not saying that I take it. Again, if you're going to let them have bracers, remember, bracers of armor class +8 is an amazing upgrade for a guy who already had a fucking shit ton of armor or armor class, but doesn't have the ability to wear armor. That's a big, big bonus. That would be one of the slots that I'd be willing to like sacrifice, where my summoner doesn't have bracers and you do. Your Eidolon does. Okay, and I believe that the bracers can be worn by most of the Eidolons, if not all of them. Even like the pets can wear bracers, because it just goes around the wrist, and all the pets have wrists. Let's see, what else we got? Magic Fang, this would be one that you would get early on, and then you would spec out of it. This is specifically useful for those that are doing either improved unarmed strikes, which could be you, could be your Eidolon, or any of the natural attacks, which most of the Eidolons get. Slam is a natural attack. Bite, Claw, the Tail Slap, Wing Buffet, all that shit is natural attacks, and as such, a +1 to their attack, a +1 to the damage. Doesn't last long, and Greater Magic Fang is coming down the pipe. But because you're a spontaneous caster with these mods, you have the ability every so often to say, oh, I want to respec out of that spell. So you can get it early, respec out of it later, trade it in once you get Greater Magic Fang, let's say, like the very next level after that, like you could trade it in, get this one back, and then pick something else like Ray of Sickening or Reduced Person or some such. Lesser Rejuvenate Eidolon, I mentioned the first one up here, the Life Conduit, but I didn't mention this one. This is nothing more than I can heal my Eidolon. It's like a cure spell, but only for the Eidolon. Can't do anything for you, technically. Can't do anything to undead at all. It's just you healing the Eidolon. Now, having said that, remember we already talked before in the previous video about how you can suck the life force off those son of bitches. So if you're hurt and you have the ability of Life Conduit still on, you literally can heal the Eidolon while you're sucking off his life force, and then heal him back again for all the HP you're sucking off of his son of a bitch ass. So this is a way for you to kind of top up both of you on the cheap. Again, not one that I would grab. It would be one that I'd probably grab, like I said early on, like Magic Fang and spec out of it later. Remember, you can get more than one spell to spec out of. You can get, let's see, every time you get a new spell level, so you get spell levels at, obviously at level 1, but you get them at level 4, you get spell level 2, level 7, level 10, 13, and 16. And all of those levels, the very next level after, so we're talking 5, 8, 11, 14, and 17, and maybe even at level 20, I think, they give you the ability to spec out of them. So you have multiple times that you have to spec out a spell. So don't feel like, oh my god, I can only have one at each level. That's not really true. Don't get crazy, but you can literally probably have 4 or 5 and not really feel too bad about, oh, I'll grab this now. Oh, this was shit. I don't need it anymore. Yeah, and I would never grab like Summon Monster 1. Also in here to point out some other fun stuff. Corrosive Touch again for extra damage, like we talked about for the dragon. Remember, this can be weapon finessable. Doesn't have to be. It is a melee touch attack, so strength works. Dexterity works if you have weapon finesse. Just wanted to point that out to you. Also, by the way, that would synergize well with long arm. Remember, this is a melee, an increase to your melee range. That's what this is doing. So again, if this says is touch range, your touch range is now 5 feet bigger when you have this buff on. Just wanted to point that out to you. Also, didn't talk about Obscuring Mist or Protection from Alignment. You already know what these ones are if you watched my previous videos, but just as a nice recap, there's no saving throw associated with these and no spell resistance either. But there is that 20% miss chance, 50% miss chance if you're outside shooting in, or vice versa. So if I'm trying to like hide inside the cloud and I'm shooting a snowball outside of the cloud to you, who's standing outside of the cloud, then that's like a 50% concealment chance. But there's ways around this. I'm a firm believer that that 20% miss chance can be overcome with like blind fight, or improved blind, precise shot, improved precise shot, something like that. Can take away the 20% miss chance. Certainly for the melee, you got a way to do that. So again, there should be a way around that issue. And so can since it's feet based, so can your Eidolon. You just make sure the Eidolon gets the appropriate feet. And again, it's a good way to protect them and you, and fuck over the bad guys at the same time. Protection from alignment. Cheap, nice buff. Again, deflection bonus and saving throw bonus. Not amazing, but remember, your Eidolon doesn't have the ability to wear gear if you're using those gear slots yourself. So again, they may not have a ring that gives them deflection bonus. They may not have a cloak that gives them saving throw bonuses. So this is useful. You have, of course, to pick the alignment, which means you have to know what kind of bad guys you're fighting. So chaotic, neutral. If you buff them for evil, it's not going to do you a goddamn bit of good. If you buff them against chaotic and they happen to be neutral evil, which is another common thing in here, it doesn't do you any good. There is no protection from neutral guys, so you can't worry about fighting like doggies and shit like that, because those guys are like 9 times out of 10 it's straight up neutral. So a true neutral characters can be completely protected from you getting this buff. So that's kind of sucked. So I kind of pass on that one. You're going to get limited picks. That's just going to be a thing. Having said that, let's back out of here. Show you the next character. So that's my level 1. There's level 2 caster, or will be. After I level them up. Give me some of that, some of this, some of that. Never good enough. Moving on. Ability increase, sure. Ability increase, sure. Done. I'm not picking any of that for any reason. Level 2. Haven't picked any yet, so here's all of them. Bark Skin. A spell that wizards, for example, don't get access to. So this is a very nice upgrade for you. Again, since your caster level is not impeded by being a summoner, you're impeded if you go that Dragon Disciple dip, of course. But it caps out at 12th level. So again, pretty easy for you to get to 4 or even 8 levels of Dragon Disciple and still yield the full benefit of this, which is a big hog and +5 bonus to your armor, to the armor of whoever you touch. So again, that could be, of course, your Eidolon. And remember, this is natural armor enhancement. This doesn't stack with the necklace, for example, the natural armor enhancement necklace that you get. But again, your pet, your Eidolon, doesn't have a next slot if you're using yours, usually. So this is another way to give them another bump to their armor class. And again, a very significant buff. And remember, this will stack with natural armor, not natural armor enhancement. Natural armor, which is what they get by default. So again, this is a very nice upgrade, lasts for a very long time. Definitely a solid pick. I'm leery of grabbing things like Bull Strength, Cat's Grace, and Bear's Endurance, but again, same caveat falls on this. While they won't necessarily help you because you're going to be using gear, your Eidolon may not have gear. That belt slot is a precious spot. So again, if you're going to make sure that you have the belt slot and they don't, maybe you do want Bull Strength or Cat's Grace or Bear's Endurance. I'd still shy away from that shit. Rather use like potions or wands or scrolls just to fucking pat them off if they need that kind of crap. Blade Tutor, on the other hand, personal effect spell. Remember, we have the ability to cast that on them or yourself as you see fit. Or if, again, you get that improved spell sharing where you can literally share it with them. Half a minute to you per level, half a minute to them per level, and it's the same bonus for both of you. So if you have Piranha Strike and they have Power Attack, you're both at a penalty, you get upwards of 5 points of that penalty back, maximum. And that's not bad. That's a very nice increase. Allows them and you to hit more frequently. You will definitely appreciate that one. Blood Armor. This one, I didn't test it, but I want to say based on the tooltip that it's not going to work for your pet. The reason for this is it specifically says your armor gains blah blah armor hands bonus. An outfit of regular clothing counts as armor that grants no AC bonus for the purpose of this spell. So it sounds like you need to have something on clothes-wise. And these guys, remember, they cannot wear clothes. Even robes are considered armor slot for these guys. So again, it shouldn't work on them. I haven't tested that, but if anyone knows better, feel free to post down below. But again, another personal effect. You could try to use it on them, try to use it on yourself. It'll help you out. So it's not the worst spell for you to have. But again, it's one of those where you'd have to take piercing or slashing damage up to this much or more to get a +1 bonus. It stacks on itself multiple times, so more times they smack you in the face, the better your armor. I guess. And again, each time they hit you, if it gives you another +1 all the way up to that maximum +5, it's making it harder for them to hit you. And again, we can siphon life off of our Eidolon. So this is a little more useful than I probably give it credit for, but it's still a weird spell, so it's kind of one that I'm like, probably gonna pass on. Blur, on the other hand, again, amazing spell. Give it to you, give it to your pet. Both of you guys will love it. A 20% miss chance, can't go wrong. Create Pit, again, you're going to get many, not all, many of the Conjuration Pit spells. You don't have to pick them. Remember, none of the Pit spells have spell resistance, which is fucking baller, because there's a physical thing they're actually falling into. There is a saving throw, so again, if you're a spell-focused conjurer, you're going to do real good for yourself. Now, the downside on these ones is I don't do the ones, and this is just my take, I don't do the ones where they take damage and it's over. Like they're in the pit and they can get back out, whatever. Yeah, that helps. It's a little bit of crowd control, kind of limits the amount of bad guys on the battlefield. Short term, fine. But if it's not continual damage, like every round they're stuck in that fucking pit, then I don't care about it, really. That's just my personal take. Of course, we got Eagle's Splendor, Fox's Cunning, Owl's Wisdom. They give you all the transmutation spells, which is pretty weird. Now notice we have another unique spell, Lesser Evolution Surge. Now, this is 3 different ones of these. So there's the lesser, the normal version, so just Evolution Surge, and then there's Greater Evolution Surge that's coming up. And again, you can get all 3. However, I don't think they stack. All they do is they give you 2 or 4 or 6 evolution points to put on your Eidolon. It opens up a pop-up window of a shit ton of the evolution point things that you would buy. So you have to know which ones you can use. For example, if he already has claws, there's no reason for you to give him claws again, because it's not going to do anything. So you got to kind of, that's why I say, on this stuff, you might want to get like a piece of paper, write down what you did at the last level for your Eidolon, or before you level up or cast a spell, take a look at your Eidolon real quick on pause. Say, what does he have? Oh yeah, he has resistance to this. Maybe I should make him immune to that instead. And that's what you might spend the points on. You don't have to use all 2, 4, or 6 points. You don't get to save them. So you basically want to find something that's pricey, but that's within your budget, is my take on this. And like I said, I don't think you can cast this one, and then the other one, and then the other one, and have all 3 benefit you. You literally, it's a one and done deal. One replaces the other. Okay, so you probably want to get this early, spec out of it when you get the regular one, use that for a while, spec out of it when you get the Greater Evolution Surge. That's my personal take. Glitter Dust, another amazing conjuration spell. As a conjurer, no spell resistance. Decent saving throw for you if you go spell focus, greater spell focus, conjuration, and again, charisma is going to be your stat. Make sure it's high, high, high. And again, a really nice spell for you to not only make guys visible so that you're less likely to be stealth ninja greater invis up the yin yang, but also if they fail to save, and this is the great part, this has nothing to do with the save. If they fail to save, they're blinded, and it's AoE, not teammate friendly, but you can see where it's going to go, so just careful with it. But by and large, a very nice spell, definitely one that makes the cut. Invisibility, definitely one that doesn't make the cut. I can get this in potion form, and usually I'm happy to do so, or a wand, or a scroll. There is some uses in the game for this, but again, the moment you attack, or whoever gets the buff attacks, then the spell's gone. So kind of dumb. We have protection from alignment communal, so AoE version, and again, it only lasts for a minute, so it'd be one way to buff you and your pet. But again, you see my original argument on protection from alignment on the last part of this video. Protection from arrows, this one, as far as I know, is still borked. I don't grab it. It's a nice long buff, but it's one where most arrow or ranged weapon attacks, I should say, are considered magic one way or the other. Maybe that's the trick. Maybe that's what I'm missing, but I've never seen this absorb any fucking damage. So maybe I'm wrong. But if anyone knows why I'm wrong, feel free to post that down below. But I think this has always been busted and it's never been fixed. Resist energy, on the other hand, this one's fucking money. And when you may say, whoa, I have the Eidolon that's immune to acid. Yeah, is he protected from fire, sonic, cold, and electric? No? Well, then here's your spell. Resist energy is better, in my opinion, than protection from energy. So if you're hard-coded into picking one versus the other, this would be the one I grab. Good news is you actually can pick the other. It's at the next level. So again, you can get protection from energy and resist energy. And together, they're fucking amazing. Highly recommended. Even if it's not for your Eidolon and it's just for you or your team, totally fucking worth having. And again, a solid buff. And really, what else were you going to fucking buy? You got Bark Skin, you got Blade Tutor, you got Blur, Glitter Dust, and you're probably done. And you probably got one or two more picks to go. You're not picking Summon Monster 2, let's just fucking say it, and the Small Elemental's a piece of shit. See, Invis, on the other hand, solid pick. Long duration, personal effect. Remember, it can be given to you or your pet because you're a summoner, or you could get that improved spell sharing again and split that 10-minute buff to a 5-minute per level buff for each of you. More than enough to do what you guys need to do, and that's a solid fuck you, we can see you now, you little sons of bitches. Very nice spell. Backing out of here now. Boop. Over here is our level 3 caster. Or level 3 spells, I should say. Give me a quick sec. Can make me pick all the crap, aren't you? Yeah, you son of a bitch. Whatever. Picking that, picking that. Good, great, good. Or great, good. Go away, dickhead. Oh my god, look at all this shit. No, there we go. Good enough. Alright, so level 3, new category. We have the ability to grab. Dispel Magic. Solid spell. You know my love for this spell. This is the only one of the two Dispel Magics, Greater Dispel Magic being the other. This one can actually remove area of effects. Greater Dispel Magic cannot. It has an area of effect pick and a single target pick. The area of effect pick for Greater Dispel Magic debuffs one spell from everybody in the circle. If you want to debuff multiple spells from one prick, you do the single target Greater Dispel Magic. That's what that one's for. This one, you use it on one creature. So again, you strip off one spell from one guy, maybe. Or you do the AoE effect, like you click on the dirt, and it gets, hopefully, it dispels like the grease spell, the web spell, the whatever the fucking bad guy slapped on the ground. And you would use it on what the bad guys do, because in this game, if you or a teammate has cast a spell, thanks to the modders have added my house rule, not because I said so, but because they're awesome. For example, if I had Stinking Cloud in the area of effect and the fight's over, we don't want it there because we want to, I don't know, inspect some shit and we want to run into the cloud, we can make it go away with the click of a button that has nothing to do with you casting a spell. So that's nice. So this is used against bad guys, not against yourself. Displacement, solid buff. Again, decent 50% miss chance. Useful for you, useful for your Eidolon, useful for your teammates. Evolution Surge, this is the bigger version. Again, see the 4-point use, still 1 minute per level. Notice this, you can grant an evolution that allows you to spend additional evolution points to upgrade that evolution. This spell cannot be used to grant an upgrade to an evolution that the Eidolon already possesses. The Eidolon must meet any prerequisites of the selected evolution. So again, like I said, if you, let's go with Bite. If your character already had Bite, and you wanted to give him Poison, Constitution is 4 points. Poison Strength is 2 points. So again, you've met the requirements by him already having Bite. Right? So that's what this is talking about. So that's pretty helpful. Fly, useful, but less so in the fact that you can give your pet an evolution that allows them to fly, which gives them most of this. They don't give them the 10-foot movement speed, but the immunity to difficult terrain and ground-based effects is still a thing, and the dodge for melee attacks for non-flying creatures, which pretty much everyone else, is a thing. This can be used on you, can be used on your pet. That means you don't have to use the evolution points. So there's a reason to want this spell. And the fact that you can use it on you and give yourself extra speed and all the other cool shit is useful. So this is really one that if I'm not going to get fly some way, shape, or form free from my Eidolon or whatever, I might take this spell or trade it in at the end of the game where I don't need it anymore because, again, I'm getting fly some other way. But this is a solid buff. Haste, obvious buff for you and your Eidolon and anyone else on your team that's within the area of effect. And it should work on them because they are considered actual companions, kind of like animal companions. You can buff them with haste. Same here. You can't buff your summons, your actual dogs or Berlania Zadas or whatever the fuck you're summoning. Haste never seems to work on them. I don't know what the fuck that's about, but I guess they're not considered people, so maybe that's the trick. Heroism, good, not great, because greater heroism is coming down the pipe. But this is again another one that you could convince me to grab this early and then trade it out later. Hell, yeah, this is a reason still to grab this and keep it and get greater heroism, because this one lasts longer. It's not as much of a buff, but so what? Give the 10-minute buff to someone lame like your Eidolon and give yourself the greater heroism buff because you're awesome sauce. Whatever. Nothing wrong with keeping it. Solid buff. Again, we have the improved life conduit now. Again, we've seen this again. It's at 1d6. Now it can be 2d6 that you're siphoning back and forth between you or the pet. Greater Magic Fang. Time to retire Magic Fang because this one can get upgraded. And not only is it instead of 1 minute per level, it's now 1 hour per level. You get a +1 bonus to attacks and damage. Per 4 caster levels up to a maximum of +5, which means at caster level 20, you get a full fucking +5 to your slam, fist, bite, or any other natural weapon. So again, wing attacks, tail, slap, I'm sure I'm missing something in there. Gore is another natural weapon. Any of those fall under that category. So again, this would work on monks. This would work on you and your little fisties. It will not work on your weapon, which so again, you don't have the greater magic weapon or magic weapon spell. But this is going to be a cool reason to fucking buff your Eidolon if your Eidolon doesn't use weapons. Again, highly recommended. Protection from arrows communal. Again, see what I said about protection from arrows. I'm fairly certain these are still broken. Protection from energy, on the other hand, is amazing. Solid buff, long duration. Remember, this is the one that's poppable. They can absorb after 10th level. It caps out where you get 120 points of whatever damage we're talking about. Let's just say fire. Once it absorbs up to 120 points of fire damage, it's gone. If it exceeds 120, let's say they hit you with something that did 121, it'll pop and you'll take 1 point of damage. So it absorbs that amount and then it goes away. That's why I like resist energy better, because it's always there. This will be, you're effectively immune until it exceeds the limit. But this takes into effect after any resistances come through. So if you have resist energy fire and protection from energy fire on, that resist energy fire is lessening the incoming damage, and then anything that bleeds through from that gets absorbed by the bubble. That's what I'm calling this. And then if it exceeds the bubble, or the 2 or 3 or 4 hits exceed that bubble, then finally it pops, but you still have resist energy. So you're still absorbing 10, 20, or 30 points of incoming fire, cold, electric, whatever damage we're talking about. So again, still recommended that you grab the other one. I would not get the upgraded versions, the AoE versions. Let someone else on the team grab that shit. If you're running solo, I'd still rather get 2 castings or shared casting, if that's even possible, of resist energy, and not get this lame 10-minute buff. I'd rather you just get the good one, the one that lasts for a good long while. Again, we have Rage, AoE version. This should work on your Eidolon tube. Morale bonus to strength and con. Morale bonus on their will saves. Penalty to their armor. They're a raging monster son of a bitch at this point. They can't cast spells, but most of your Eidolons can't cast spells anyway. This can be useful, but this would also affect you. I think the modder has added the ability to reject Rage, which is a button that you, like a toggle you can click on your character and your Eidolon. So if you don't want to use Rage on a specific person, like obviously your summoner who casts spells and this would totally bone them, you can reject the Rage effect. That's okay. I'm not toying with that, but that is a possibility, and you could seriously have some fun with that. Rejuvenate Eidolon, again, just a better heal, and a very nice heal, by the way. The last one, by the way, was like 1d10 plus 5 or some shit. This is 3d10 plus 10. This is a solid increase. And again, you can heal them. That's all you can do with that thing. We talked about resist energy already. Slow, a nice transmutation, AoE, teammate friendly, Eidolon friendly attack spell. And while there is a will save and you're not probably a transmuter, remember 2 things. 1, it dispels haste, so if you see them buff up with haste, strip that shit off it. That's how this does, guaranteed. If they don't have haste on and they make their will save, that sucks. However, you're hitting everybody, right? So make sure to hit the biggest cluster of bad guys. chances are some idiot's going to fail that check. And it's a massive, it's a decent penalty to all their shit. And remember, it considers them staggered. Something else I keep forgetting to point out. What does staggered mean? That means if they have to move to you, they can't attack. If they're standing still and you're right next to them, they can swing, but they're only getting one swing. One, not multiples. Remember, they have either or, a move or a standard action, not a full action. So this is extremely powerful. Again, highly recommended. Spike Pit, recommended in that there's no spell resistance like all your pit spells. Again, you're a conjurer, so you're probably good at that. It's not teammate friendly. It's not Eidolon friendly. Be careful with that shit. But by and large, you can control those pets. It's not that much of a problem. They fall considerable amount of distance. 10 feet per 2 caster levels, caps out at 50 feet. I've yet to even see if this can be intensified. I probably should have checked that. But that's a caster level 10 when you finally get that full 50 feet. And they take 1d6 of damage per 10 feet, which means that for a 50 feet maximum spell, they would take 5d6 of bludgeoning damage from falling in the pit, plus 2d6 of piercing damage from the spikes at the bottom of the pit. But that's it. It is harder to get out, I will say, for every pit spell. For each increase, it's harder to get out, not just because it's a higher DC check, because it's a higher spell level, but because of this DC check, the athletics or mobility check to climb the fuck out, steadily gets bigger. So again, you'll see that it's like at 20, then it's 25, then it's 30, or whatever. So you will see that it's a steady increase for the DC check here. So it is harder for them to get out. So if you want to remove someone from the battlefield, this is useful more than you think. And this is not, I believe, a ground-based effect. So this is a problem in that if you have wings and you think, I'll just fly over it. Nope, that's not how that works. You fall into these things, I believe. And that straight up sucks, yo. But it's what you have to deal with. Stinking Cloud, again, one of your first poisoning spells. It is poison, so anyone that's immune to poison, like some of your Eidolons are, they're immune to this effect. This is the one that makes them nauseated while they're in the cloud, and after they leave the cloud, they stay nauseated for a specific amount of time, which is pretty fucking baller. When you're nauseated, you can defend yourself, but you cannot attack, you cannot cast spells. This is a solid fuck you spell. No spell resistance, decent fortitude saves on this. And again, if you're conjuring with spell focused conjuration and greater spell focused conjuration and have a high charisma, the DC check on this is going to be through the fucking roof. Really, really nice. Sadly, there are plenty of bad guys in the game that are immune to poisons or have such a ridiculous fortitude check that they're probably going to fucking pass it anyway, looking at you, you ugly ass trolls. But I have caught some serious nasty trolls before in this shit, mostly because the cloud persists. This is one where you cast it and it's a circled area. It doesn't drift away left or right or the way you're facing like the cloud kill will. It just stays stationary. So if you're fighting in the cloud, and of course you or your teammate or whoever's immune to poison, you keep them in the cloud that way, so they're trying to beat you up. Eventually they're going to fail that check. Remember, a crit failure always is a failure. A crit success on that, a max 20 roll, is always passing, whether they would have passed or not. They passed the check. So that's always the thing with saving throws. But still, solid spell, always going to make the cut. Summon Medium Elemental, now we're talking. Same with Summon Monster 4. I can be convinced of either or both of these. You are a summoner after all, and especially if you want spell-focused conjuration, you probably are wanting picking up Augmented Summoning and Superior Summoning, or at least one of those two. And again, Augmented Summoning works for both. Superior Summoning only works for the summon monster spells, or the ones where you summon multiples, let's say it that way. Because this you only summon one. And Superior Summoning only gives you another pet if you could have summoned more than one. For example, in this one, I can summon a dire wolf. That's only one, so Superior Summoning will not kick in. 1d3 of Monitor Lizards, though, that could be more than one. So the way that works is if I have Superior Summoning, it's 1d3 plus 1 now. So it's a guaranteed 2, 3, or 4 is what you're going to get if you summon the Monitor Lizards and you have Superior Summoning. If you have Superior Summoning and you try to summon these wolves, these extraplanar wolves, it's 1d4 plus 2. So again, minimum of 3, maximum of 6. So again, that's a very nice increase. Scatter the battlefield with all kinds of bad guys. I could see grabbing either of those. Solid choices. And again, makes it for some hard decisions because there's some really good level 3 spells in here. You can't get them all. This ain't Pokemon. Moving back from here, we're going to go now to the other 3. That's you. So there should be level 4 spells now. Sure, that sounds good. I want all those things. That sounds great. Sure. Sure again. Okay. Yeah. Sounds good. Now, for your level 4 spells, you have Acid Pit. Now we're talking. Finally give me a goddamn pit spell I can fucking use. And it does acid damage, so remember our love if you're an acid dragon type, if you went draconic, or Dragon Disciple, you get extra damage with your acid spells. This should count. So again, they fall in the pit, take 1d6 of bludgeoning damage per 10 feet they fall. Maximum is 100 feet, 10 feet per 2 caster levels. So at level 20, it finally caps the fuck out. So literally, it's going to just, you get it now and it just steadily gets better by the time you get to 20. And that's 10d6 of damage. That's not bad. But 2d6 per round that they're stuck in the pit of acid damage, because there's acid in the bottom of the pit. And again, notice that DC check of getting the fuck out. Not falling in, just getting out is always going to be a problem. And again, that's a solid DC check. That's very difficult for guys to get the fuck out of that shit. So that's very nice. No spell resistance, like all pit spells. And again, conjuration spell, nice reflex save. Should be easy for you to catch many of the guys in there. Maybe not every little ninja, but enough of his buddies that you can just focus fire on those ninjas that didn't fall in the pit and kick their ass. And of course, I should have pointed out, and they mentioned in the tooltips here, a bull rush attempt that will knock them past the pit, like through the hole, will cause them to fall into the pit. So creatures subjected to an effect intended to push them into the pit do not get a saving throw. They just fall in. It's like a guaranteed thing. So again, some serious combat tactics you could do. So a nice bull rush between you or your Eidolon, if you're strong enough and have the combat maneuver to do so. You can fucking knock them into the pit, like shoulder bump them into that shit. Mass Daze, this is one of your few enchantments. AoE, teammate friendly, lame. I can't imagine you'd want this. They don't take any actions. It only lasts for one goddamn round. Even if it is AoE, this is still a weird one. I probably wouldn't pick it. Dimension Door. This one normally I pick, actually, because of late with the limited picks that we have here, I've been actually skipping on this one. But you should probably get it and at the very least spec out of it if you're grabbing other stuff. And the reason you would grab other stuff is not because of mass reduced person or mass enlarged person. You don't need that shit. You do want greater evolution surge. Remember, this is the one that gives you the big 6 evolution points. And again, if you buy something with it that's only 1 evolution point, well, you just wasted it because you're only getting 1 and done. If it's 2, 3, 4, again, you can only get 1 thing with this. But if you burn 6, bam, you got one of the biggest evolutions that are in the game. And there's a couple really good ones at 6. Well, at least, I mean, not good, but they look like they should be good. Like the huge size. Remember, there's large, that costs 4 points. Huge costs 6. And while I'm leery of burning 4 points and 6 points just to get to the biggest category, burning 4 is doable, and then casting this spell to give you the full 6 could be worthwhile. However, I tried this the other day, and I don't think it showed up in the menu, the 6 evolution point size increase, and I already had large size on my Eidolon, so I don't know why it wasn't giving me the option of getting the bigger version. So maybe there's a glitch there. Keep an eye out for that. But there's some other cool shit in there, and again, there's a lot of stuff that is 4 points that is worth having. So again, this is pretty goddamn decent. Let's see, Fire Shield. Okay, now this is the one that you almost want to have anyway. If you get hit, or again, personal effect, you can split the effect on you or your pet, or cast it just on your pet, your Eidolon. This not only gives them damage to anyone that strikes them in melee combat, assuming they don't use reach weapons, and the damage is either fire or cold based on the type of shield that you use, but they also get protection, half damage from fire-based attacks or cold-based attacks, depending on the shield you use. And don't ask which one it is, because I think the tooltip is wrong. So, cool shield, you would think, protects you from fire. It protects you from cold, I believe. And warm flames protects you from fire, I believe. So again, grain of salt with that. But again, it will help, and again, we'll stack or at least layer in with like resist energy, fire or cold, and protection from energy, fire or cold. So again, there's some fun to be had here. So again, really, really nice. A solid buff. It doesn't last long, but it's definitely worth having. Just like greater invisibility is. And again, you can cast this on your pet. You can cast this on yourself. Obsidian Flow, nice fire damage attack. And why do I keep pointing out the elemental damage? Remember, we're talking about Dragon Disciple as a possibility. Which dragon are you going to be? Is it going to be an acid dragon? We have a few of those spells, not a bunch, but we have a decent smattering. We have a decent smattering of fire spells with Obsidian Flow, Fire Shield, and some other ones coming down the pipe. So again, fire is not the worst idea ever, it's just not the best. Hell, Wall of Fire makes it worth a damn, in my opinion. But again, everybody's going to be different on this. But Obsidian Flow is a decent pick. Again, no spell resistance. It is a transmutation, not a conjuration, so know that. But a nice reflex save, and it's only a partial save. So again, they make the check, they still take damage. They're not entangled, I don't think is what it's called, but there's, yeah, no, it is, become entangled in it. Yeah, so they get stuck in the molten obsidian, the molten glass. And the part after that's funny for me is afterwards it's considered difficult terrain because of the sharp pieces of glass. So it's harder for them to move around. They move slower. They take extra damage if they fall down. Remember, you have a spell at level 1 called Grease that will cause them to fall the fuck down. You may have an Eidolon that's flying over this. And remember, they will not be flying over the fire damage initial. That's just a one and done fire at the very onset of the spell. So the duration is long. That fire isn't. That 10d6 maximum of damage. It's there and done. So don't cast it under their feet even if they have wings. Cast it in front of them. If they have wings, then they can fly over it and they will not be impeded by its movement. So that's fucking baller. And that works for this, but it does not work for Tar Pool. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute, because that's at level 6 spells. But this allows you to fly over it and lead the little fuckers in a merry chase. And remember, if your Eidolon's one of those Eidolons that have a bite attack, you can give them the evolution that allows them to trip anytime they make a successful bite attack. Well, if they trip and they fall, they're falling prone. Falling prone in that obsidian causes 1d6 of, I'm assuming, piercing damage or slashing damage, one of the two. And again, every time they fall down, 1d6 of damage. If they stand back up and they fall back down again, another 1d6 of damage. So again, you can have them, not fun, but it can be useful more than you think. And great for some crowd control. Again, we have our Protection from Enemy Communal. Again, I would not get this one. There's too many good spells to get in here, and you can just cast Protection from Energy twice, or split it. Excuse me. Solid Fog, another good conjuration spell. No spell resistance. There's a saving throw. I'm not real sure why there's a fucking saving throw though. Doesn't say anything about why there's a saving throw here. So there's something that I'm missing. Point is though that there's a penalty to melee attacks and damage. So attack bonus and damage bonus goes down by 2 for anyone in it. Half speed for those in it. Maybe that's what the fortitude save negates. Notice that ranged weapons will not work at it, in or out of it, except for magic rays, so like ray spells. However, on that note, it is a cloud proper, a solid fog proper, and as such, there's like a 50% mischance still in or out of the cloud with the ray spell. So ranged attacks can't penetrate it, but ray spells can, maybe, in or out. So that's a thing, and again, another way to protect you and your pets and your team. Stone Skin, solid spell, pardon the pun. Pack your diamond dust, solid spell though for some adamantine or DR against physical attacks unless it's an adamantine weapon. Again, it pops, so it absorbs up to this much, and then it pops when it finally exceeds it, but you will still absorb upwards of 150 points of goddamn damage, which is pretty fucking baller. And remember, that's only 10 per, so that's not to say that 150 points of damage coming your way, you would ignore it. No, you ignore 10 of it if it's one hit of 150, which is a fucking shit ton, but I've seen them. So you're absorbing 10 of that 150. So you better hope you have 140 plus health points. Just saying. And again, can be used on you, can be used on your Eidolon. Now we're getting to the really good summons, the large elemental and summon monster 5. I would not hesitate to grab one or both of those as a proper summoner. And remember, I don't mention this before, but again, as a nice reminder, you can't use your, I'll show it to you, your summon abilities. In this case, I'm a naturalist, so I have summon Nature's Ally 1 through 9 as spell-like abilities. For the traditional summoner, it's summon monster 1 through 9. You cannot summon those with the pets out. However, you can use these spells while the Eidolon is out, and it works just fine. So you can have a large elemental out. You can have summon monster 5, whatever the fuck it is, out, and have your Eidolon out there as well. That's cool. So again, there is reasons to want these, and there is reasons then to want spell-focused conjuration, augmented summoning, and probably superior summoning. Wall of Fire, another really good fire spell. Decent damage. That 2d6 doesn't look all that impressive, but when throwing that +1 fire damage per caster level up to a max of +20, you're doing 22 to 32 points of damage for anyone that's in that fire. And if you have an Eidolon that you've made immune to fire, or they just naturally become immune to fire, they can stand that shit all fucking day. If you line it up right in the doorway, they could be fighting the bad guy. The bad guy's burning his little fucking chestnuts off while you're basically kicking his ass where the Eidolon is. Some decent fun to be had here. So again, a solid choice. Backing out of here now, so we'll go to our level 5 spells. That's you. We're getting all those things. Oh, sure I want cluster shots. Sure I don't. And this, by the way, is the aspects you can steal. This is this ability you're seeing here, where you can steal aspect or evolution points from your Eidolon, because you haven't purchased any yet. I can steal 0, 1, or 2 at this level. Later on I can grab more. But if I steal them, then it allows me to literally use those points for myself. So I can give myself claws, I can give myself resistance to fire or whatever. So again, there's some fun to be had here. It's not something I dip into all that much, but it is a thing you can do. Usually I just do 0 because I want my pet to be awesome. And I'm not making him awesome right now. I'm just doing crazy shit because I'm trying to show you the spells. So don't follow my advice on this one right here. So I'm just kind of clowning around. Alright, good enough. Now, level 5 spells. What we have? Baleful Polymorph. Finally a nice attack spell. Again, another transmutation spell, fortitude spell. There is spell resistance, so that's a problem. But again, if it works, it's a curse. So straight up, you turn him into a dog, that guy's fucked. Cloud Kill. Great conjuration spell for you, especially if you are, or your Eidolon is immune to poison. Again, another poison spell. No spell resistance, fortitude save. And remember, even if they make the save, there's an effect. They still take half con damage is all if they do it. So again, if they're fighting in it and your guy's immune to the poison effect, they can tank like a son of a bitch in there. Even super saving trolls with high fortitude will continually lose con at every fucking round. That's not bad. That's a solid thing. The downside is this is the one that wafts away from you based on the way you're facing. So if I'm facing north, I'm going to call the top of the map here north. If I'm facing north and I cast a spell, it will continually drift away from me at 10 feet per round. If at my next turn, I end my turn facing south, it'll drift back down south. So you can control it just by making sure you're pointing in the right goddamn direction at the end of your turn. Left, right, up, down, however you do it, it's going to drift in the direction you're looking at the end of your turn. But know that that's an amazing spell. You can cheese a lot of really easy or hard boss fights with this by casting it and letting it drift into the boss fight. He will be standing in it, or she, and they'll be constantly twitching from fucking con damage. You can walk the fuck in, trigger the fight scene, and then they're so low on con at that point that it's like one more love tap and they're dead. It happens a lot. It's a lot of guys that will have poison resistance in this game, so it's going to be a thing. Dismissal. Thematically, this is one that I want to take because, again, the type of summoner you are, why not make other summoners' summons go away? That's kind of what this thing does. But, again, not the best spell ever. It's one of your few abjuration spells that has a DC check and therefore saving throw associated with it. So, yeah, it's whatever. Greater Dispel Magic. Again, we already talked about this. I'd rather have the weaker version, sadly. If I can get both, I'll grab both. But there's a lot of good stuff in here, and you don't get many level 5 spell picks. Hold Monster. Solid spell pick. This is a nice paralysis spell. And again, really useful for you because it works on a variety of objects. Bad guys, not just people, but also monsters. So again, this is like the catch-all, if I'm not mistaken. So like it'll work on animals, people, giant monsters, whatever, if they fail to check. And they're paralyzed proper. As a result of that, of course, you and or your Eidolon can go over and start doing coup de grace on the paralyzed motherfucker, or get sneak attack love in. There's a lot of fun you can have with Hold Monster. Hungry Pit. This is the other pit spell that I would be willing to grab because, again, decent damage, the 100 feet of damage max again, 10 feet per 2 caster level, so it casts out at 20, 1d6 of damage for bludgeoning damage per 10 feet. And it says pet 10 feet, that's supposed to be per 10 feet. So again, it could be 10d6 of damage when they smack down the bottom with that bludgeoning damage. Then the pit will contract in and out because it's a hungry pit, so it basically squeezes and crushes them inside it with more bludgeoning damage every round. So again, continual damage, a higher DC check. Again, man, I was really solid on that. DC 25, 30, 35, like I said. So again, it gets harder and harder to get the fuck out of the pit. And again, the same thing for the pits that we saw before. A nice spell DC check for you because of your spell conjuration, your spell focus conjuration and greater spell focus conjuration. Presumably your high charisma is going to make sure that DC check goes to the roof. And again, no spell resistance for any of the pits. That doesn't mean they're not going to be immune to the damage. They could have so much resistance to bludgeoning damage and the continual bludgeoning damage below ground that it won't hurt them. But it will take them out of the fight. Remember, if they're down in the pit, they're not doing anything to you. So there is that. And again, definitely useful. I would definitely consider grabbing that. What else do you have? Here's the Greater Life Conduit. Now we're finally sucking off or passing over to our pet 3d6 of health per round. This would be the one that I'd upgrade to and get rid of the lower two. Overland Flight, another transmutation spell, personal effect, which means you can split between you and your pet, and at max level, 20 hours is more than you need, so 10 hours apiece is a solid upgrade. Highly recommend that you grab at least Overland Flight if you're not having Fly. You still get a nice speed bump on this one, thank God. So the modders changed that as well. So it behaves just like Fly, except it lasts longer. So again, it's exactly like Fly. It's just the hour per level duration instead of the minute per level duration. And that's not the way it's supposed to be in the vanilla version of the game, or with the modded version using just Eldritch Arcana. So this is Call of the Wild, changed this. And I'm happy with this because this is solid. But I would get rid of Fly at that point and grab this one if I had room. That's the caveat here, because there's so many good things to grab here. It's kind of hard to justify some of these weaker things. On that, we also have Greater Rejuvenate Eidolon. Again, a solid 5d10. This is your best version of healing him. 5d10 plus 1 per caster level up to a maximum of 20. So you're healing a minimum of 25, a maximum of 70 per click touch. Really, really nice. And again, the chances that your Eidolon's taking that much damage, I mean, it can be a thing. A bad spike comes through, but if he's tough enough, it's easy to top him back off with 1 or 2 applications of this, and as well as using like your Greater Life Conduit to shovel some of your HP to him. Or again, steal from his life force when you've taken a spike of damage using this, and then top him off with that. So again, while he's going down and you're going up, you're healing him back up to steal more health from him later. Again, a nice 1-2 combo. Communal Stone Skin. This is one that I wouldn't mind picking. And the reason I say that is AoE version, it's cheaper on Diamond Dust because it's 5 per just a Stone Skin casting. So for getting everyone on the party that's within range, including you and your Eidolon, with only 10 dust, yeah, it only lasts 10 minutes. Honestly, that's not that bad. 10 minutes is pretty much half of a map if the map is big. If it's a small map or a decent fight or two, 10 minutes, you'll still have this on you. It'll probably pop before the 10 minutes expires. So that's not bad. And again, it's the same DR10 adamant type protection. Solid choice. Some huge elementals on Monster 6. We already said that I picked the lower ones. You better believe I'd pick the higher ones. And again, solid choices. And remember, there's other reasons to want these. The elementals. You know, I know they're only single compared to the multi-pet fuckers. And again, these ones, I should point out that you need to be careful if you're evil versus good or neutral. It depends on what you are for what you summon, right? But for these guys, it's just a huge fire, a huge water, a huge air, or a huge earth elemental. Remember what they have going for them. Earth elemental's tough as fucking nails, really, really strong, really easy to hit because they're all big, but you know, he doesn't have a lot of dex, but he does have a lot of natural armor bonus. So he's a tough motor scooter. He'll take a fucking pummeling and put a smackdown on some bad guys, because that's all he's going to do is brawl. Huge fire elemental. They have a lot of dex, also a lot of strength, I believe. So it's going to be easy for him to hit bad guys. He'll do like fire damage with his smacks, and he has a burn ability, which again, if you need it to, like, say, take out a troll where fire damage would kill it. You know, huge fire elemental could go a long way. Water elemental, they have a freeze ability. He's more con, so he's more of a tank, very similar to the earth in feel, in my opinion. But by and large, I would pick earth over water. It's just a personal preference. Air, this is the one where he does the whirly gig of fucking annoying, where it could hurt you and your team, so be careful if you see him spinning in a fucking circle. Back the fuck out of that shit. Let him just tank it. You know, he's got enough dexterity, just like the fire guy, that he can take a beating and ignore some hit coming his way. Especially with the huge elemental, they get so much natural armor bonuses, all of these guys, that they're ridiculously armored up. And you could probably even cast a spell or two on these guys to buff them just the tiniest bit more. So again, solid choices. I would still pick one of these. I would pick both of these, quite frankly, because again, level 6 version, the red caps if you're evil, the Brillani Azadas if you're not. So this is the electric ones we were talking about. Dire Wolves for either evil, good, or neutral, doesn't matter. Or a Soul Eater if you're evil. It's a really nice one, by the way. Or the Axiomite if you're not, so if you're neutral or good. And again, he also does the lightning bolt spell. Kind of annoying, but again, if you have lightning bolt, you know, electricity protection, or your Eidolon does, this is a nice 1-2 combo. Again, that's a solid list. That's level 5. Let's back out of here. Then, last one. Dun, dun, dun. Level 6. To me. No aspects. Sure, prison. Yeah. Off that. And okay, sounds good. Oh, damn. Really? Another one? God damn, how many do I got? Guess I'll take them all. Alright, level 6. Last level. Acid Fog and your other acid spell. Remember, we already had Explosive Touch. We already had Acid Pit, and now you have Acid Fog. So at least you have 3 acid spells at least. Maybe you're missing one in there, but I think that was all we had. So again, another Conjuration spell, no spell resistance. Again, no saving throw, so it doesn't matter that you have Spell Focus Conjuration or Greater Spell Focus Conjuration for it. However, it does matter if you are a dragon type that's acid based, because you'll do 2 whopping extra points of damage per round. Ring a ding ding. So instead of 2d6, it'll be 2d6 plus 2. Minimum of 4, maximum of 14. And that's not amazing, but hey man, if they have DR 10 against acid, 4 points is way better than 4 points is way better damage than 2 points of damage. Just saying. So sometimes it's helpful. It behaves like Solid Fog in all other regards. So again, that magic ray shit and all that stuff is annoying. It's going to be a thing. It's not teammate friendly, but again, with a simple resist energy communal from acid for you and your team and your Eidolon, you guys will be immune to this shit. Easy peasy. Because you start with DR 10, then you progress to DR 20. By the time you're picking this up, you're either at DR 20 or already at DR 30, which is the highest. So you're immune to it at this point. Not immune to the Solid Fog aspect of it, but that's okay. This is a spell that has saved my ass. I've mentioned this in videos in the past, but I'll mention it again now because it's worth mentioning. There's been bad guys that I have fought, especially solo, where I didn't realize that the fuckers were going to try to paralyze my ass, and I didn't have freedom of movement or some way to protect me from paralysis, and I was paralyzed, and they would just wander their happy asses over and just bludgeon me to death until I finally died in 1 or 2 more rounds after that. And they were almost dead. So I, smartly, the next 20 times I fucking repeated that fight, I finally got around to buffing with some acid protection and casting acid fog at my feet at the start of the fight, so that when they would paralyze me, because it was gonna fucking be a thing, that the bastards would saunter in to fucking kick my ass, because they're stupid AI and they'll do that thing, and they will literally melt their faces off with this acid, and it was enough to actually fucking kill them before I died. So it was a way for me to beat a extremely tough fight in the Tenebra Steppes. Certainly this would be useful in other situations, and again, you could see the appeal here. And with the Solid Fog addition to it as well, there's a lot of penalties for just standing in the cloud for you and for the bad guys, so definitely worth having. Of course, you have your mass buff spells. We don't care about those. Creeping Doom, on the other hand, another Conjuration spell with a saving throw, Fortitude saving throw, no spell resistance. What does this one do? 4 Centipede Swarms. Oh, fuck yeah. Summon swarms appear where you designate. So you get 4 swarms. You know the bug fights that everyone fucking hates in this game. This is basically giving you 4 of those. Swarms have 60 hits point each and deal 4d6 of points of damage with their swarm attack, plus poison and distraction. To resist their poison and distraction effects is equal to the save DC of this spell, which again, you're pushing through the fucking roof with your Spell Focus Conjuration, Greater Spell Focus Conjuration, and High Charisma. The distraction ability can cause them to be nauseated. That's why that did that shit. Okay, cool. And any living creature that takes damage from a creature with the distraction ability is nauseated for 1 round. Also, basically, they have the distraction ability when they bite you, they nauseate you. Okay. A Fortitude save negates that effect. So again, there's going to be a Fortitude check based on that DC check. Poison Swarm. The poison from the swarm upon entry. Fortitude save. Frequency is once per round for 6 rounds. Dex damage. The first cure that they have will save them from the poison effect, make the poison go away. But remember, these guys are around for multiple rounds. They'll bite you every goddamn round if they can. So again, it's constantly reapplying the poison, ideally. So again, and there's not a lot, if any, curing in the game for the bad guys. They rarely say, oh my god, you're poisoned, let me help you out. No, these are evil bad guys. They say, fuck you, haha, you're poisoned, you're a dumbass. And they continue to fight. So, an extremely useful spell. And the fact that it's teammate friendly in that it doesn't clump onto your teammates and attack your teammates is fucking awesome. Amazing, amazing spell. Solid Conjuration spell. Can't say enough good things about that. And again, it falls under the poison category simply because of this, even though it doesn't say it here. And it is a summons. That's a good point. If you have superior summoning, remember your summon, if you can summon more than one thing, in this case you're summoning 4 swarms, superior summoning should kick in and give you 5. I haven't tested that, but that should work, and it has worked in the past for other things that are similar to Creeping Doom, so I would trust that. So if you see 5 of those, it's because you have superior summoning. That's awesome. Greater Heroism, we already talked about heroism. Greater Heroism is better, doesn't last as long, but that temp HP. Immunity to Fear Now. Bonus is morale bonus to attack rolls, saves, skill checks. Just an amazing amount of fuck you that you can put on any one of your teammates, including yourself. Definitely you want to grab that one. Mass Invisibility, you fucking pass on that shit. That's just garbage. Summon Greater Elemental, summon Monster 7. Wait, what? Oh. Oh. Wow, that's the first time I noticed that, guys. You're getting Summon Monster 7 as a level 6 spell. Go Summoners. Fuck yeah. Okay, well, that makes sense, I guess. Anyway, Greater Elemental and Summon Monster 7. And again, these are probably higher than you should be. This is probably a level 7 spell too, but it's being treated as a level 6 for this purpose of this build. Awesome. So the even bigger version of the Fire, Water, Air, and Earth motherfucker. Yeah, oh yeah, grab me some of that shit. Summon Monster 7. What does this fucker give you? More Soul Eaters, more Axiomites, more Red Caps or Berlani Azadas, or one Bogeyman. And it doesn't matter what kind of alignment you are. All three alignments, evil, good, or neutral, get a Bogeyman. That's awesome. Tar Pool. Again, another fire damaging spell. So again, for the fire dragon types of you out there. No spell resistance. It's transmutation, but there is a reflex save to avoid it. This is one that it does 10d6 of damage in the initial spike, much like Obsidian Flow. However, it does 2d6 of fire damage each round. And if you have wings, you are not protected from that shit. You are protected from being slowed. So you can, let's say this whole fucking picture of Tar Pool is the Tar Pool. If I'm over here, cast a spell. I'm not in it, so I don't take the 10d6 of damage the bad guys do. Now I want to get to here. If I have wings, I'm fast enough I can actually whoop, zip straight across that shit. End my turn outside of the field, and I will not take the 2d6 of damage. If you're anywhere in that field, you will take that damage. Now, of course, you can make yourself immune to fire or resistant enough, that because that's only 12. But it's annoying, and I don't like that shit. And it's a good way for you to lead them through a merry fucking chase of them running through the tar pool, because again, we already talked about the AI in this game is fucking stupid. So they're just la-di-da, running through the fucking fire like dumbasses, burning their little tootsies and getting all the entangle effects and all this other ignorant shit. And remember, if you knock them down, remember your Eidolon can do that shit with that nice trip ability. You have Grease Spell, you can do that too. Knock them down, they get entangled, and it's even harder for them to make their check because they're stuck in the tar, and it's hard for them to escape because they've fallen down. So that's a really, really nice, and it gets even better. After they finally get the fuck out of the tar, they will take no action for the next one round as they clean the tar from their bodies. So they're literally like scraping the shit off, going, fucking I hate you, you son of a bitch. And that's time for me to bull rush you right back into the fucking tar pool, you son of a bitch. Or into my fucking pit spell, or whatever. You get the idea. You're going to have a lot of placeable spells, is my point. Notice the last spell we have, of course, to talk about is True Seeing. Again, ignores blur effects, displacement effects, invisible effects. This is the upgraded version of See Invisible, in my opinion. Once you have this, there's very little reason for you to have the level 2 version of See Invis. But, I mean, really, I would still probably keep it because it's cheap, it's easy to cast, and there's not much at level 2 that I wanted anyway. This one doesn't last as long. See Invisibility lasts, I want to say, 10 minutes per level. Personal effects, so it can work on you, your pet, both of you if you have that improved spell sharing. Whereas True Seeing, you could use that on the pet, or you, or anyone else on the fucking team. So it's cool. Lots and lots of spells. I know this video is long, but that's all I really had to say for that. Other than to point out one other thing. Remember, there was other Eidolons. Now remember, this is the summoner, but there's other Eidolons that got access to spells. One, the Twin, which is the one I'm playing right now, this character here. They got our spell-like ability. So any of my spells, they can cast if their charisma is high enough. Notice that I was grabbing charisma. That was by accident, but I would still probably push their charisma up a little bit. As such, the best they could cast would be my level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 spells, not level 6. And again, I have to be able to cast level 6 for them to be able to cast level 5. They can only cast the spells one level lower. But that's cool. Now they only get 3 castings a day, so only 3 spells. And again, that is 3 spells, not from each level. That's 3 spells, period. That's it. But that could be a buff, that could be tar pool, that could be fly. You get the idea. So the spells that you pick, know that your buddy here has the ability to do that. Now that's just one Eidolon that has that ability. Remember, there's the Devil Binder, that they get 9 spells, and some of them are different than your spells, which included things like, I don't want to say Scorching Ray was in there. I think they had Dominate Person was in there, which you don't have access to. I think they had Hold Person in there, which you don't have access to that one. You have Hold Monster, but Hold Person is still useful. And again, there's a lot of people in this game, so Hold Person works well. And he casts it, not you. And some other stuff like Meteor Swarm, a lot of other cool shit. So he had a lot of fire, not surprising, spells. And again, if you play a Devil Binder, I think you can go Dragon Disciple still and pick a Fire Dragon type. Just saying, it wouldn't beef his fire spells up, But you do get that Hellfire spell-like ability, and that does, I think, upwards of 15d6 of damage on that shit, at best case scenario, and a big AoE circle. Part of that's fire damage, part of it's unholy, I think. However, because it's fire damage, if you are a Dragon Disciple that has Fire Dragon blood in you, that might take 15d6 damage and jump that to 15d6 plus 15. I don't know that, didn't test it, but know that that's a possibility. Just wanted to point that out. And then there's yet again one other Eidolon that has spell casting ability. Remember, so now we have the Devil Binder, we have this one here, the Twin Eidolon, and the Fey Eidolon for the Fey Caller. Remember, they got Fey magic, and now I point that out because that Fey magic, matter of fact, do I have one of those on the party? No. Of course I didn't pick one, you dumbass. The Fey Eidolon, what was that ability? So they have Fey Magic 1, Fey Magic 2, Fey Magic 3. I'm just trying to think what the spells were. Hideous Laughter was one of the spells. They had Obscuring Mist and Grease. You have those too. But they had Entangle. That was a new one. They had Mirror Image, which you don't have. And again, that's a lot of cool shit there. And remember, when they get to level 20, the Fey Caller does have the Twin Eidolon ability, which, for those of you that forgot what that might be, that is this guy here, where you get to keep or copy their abilities, including their spells. So you would get Fey Magic 1, 2, 3. Whatever spells you pick for them, you'd be able to cast as well. So you don't have Mirror Image. Well, now you do, motherfucker. Just saying, there's some cool shit you can do here. So make sure that that's a thing that you're keeping in the back of your head. Remember, this does not show up for the Devil-Minded motherfucker. He doesn't get this ability because he gets all kinds of other cool shit. And matter of fact, you don't even get your summons like this, their spell-like abilities, because again, the Devil replaced that with his spells. He got level 1 through level 9 spell free of charge. He gets them cast each of them once a day, and at this level he got to cast them all 3 times a day. That's 27 castings of spells. Now yes, some were lame, but many were not. And again, that's a solid build in my opinion still. It'd be definitely fun if someone wants to see that. Post down below, I'll be happy to do that for you. But again, that Twin Eidolon is a very nice ability if you're copying like Dragon's Breath, if you're copying their spells, if you're copying their immunities. There's some serious fun that you can have here. So again, solid build or class, the Summoners. Just depends on how you build it and that you're paying attention, because it really does get fiddly. I mean, hell, just look at let's do this one here. This is the level 16 version, just to show you how many stuff that I had to pick. Just to reiterate a point here, taking none of their aspects from them. Look how many evolution points I'm going to burn. Okay, ready? These all cost 2 apiece. There's 2. That was the free one. Matter of fact, I'm going to get the... Oh, no, actually I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go to there. I'm going to take this one and make it Charisma permanent. That's a permanent +2, Charisma level 1. So it's a +2 to his Charisma, or her Charisma. Now I'll go back here and replace this one now with Charisma level 2. So here's 2 points. I'm going to take that. I don't care. No, I'm going to take use that for that. Sure. Why not? And then here I'm going to take Charisma 3. That's another 2 points. I'm going to take Charisma 4. Oh, I can't do it yet. Oh, Charisma 4 unlocks later. I'll show that to you right here. Charisma here. 4 level 18. I'll be able to get a 4th one. That's +8 to Charisma. Just saying. That is a possible thing for you to get. So 2, 4, 6, 8. That's the best you can do. And now I can dump them into the other stuff. So I've invested 2 points, 4 points. Let's do 6 points, 8 points, 10 points. Dexterity, now that's 12 points. I've invested 12 points. And again, I can prove to you that that is correct. Remember how this point system works, or how many evolution points you have. Unless you got free ones, or you bought free ones, which is a thing you could totally have bought with feats. If you don't do that and just rely on the natural progression, it is equal to your level of your Eidolon. I'm level 16. My Eidolon would be level 12. I can prove that because I have 12 points. How do I know that for sure? This is how it works. You get a point, none. A point, a point, none. So it's 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12. 13, 14, 15, 15. It'll end on 15. At 19 and 20, it never gets any higher than that unless they get free ones or you purchase them. So 15 is about as high as you can expect. And again, you can see I buffed Charisma multiple times, Con multiple times, Dex multiple times. This is going to be a fucking tough dude if I wanted to go for Strength or Dex or charisma build, I have the ability to do so. And again, I still had the ability to grab stuff like extra attack instead. I could have grabbed extra attack part 2. Hide that somewhere there. So here's extra attack. I could have grabbed extra attack too. I think it glitched out because I grabbed it here. So let's actually turn that into ability increase. So turn this one into extra attack. That's energy test. That's extra attack, and then this one is extra attack too. There you go. Now it's working. It's a little glitchy, but this is the best you can get. And notice how extra offhand attack showed up. I could have grabbed that twice. I'm still tempted for the build that I'm going to give you guys probably tomorrow morning to make a twin summoner, little bitty halfling or gnome person where they're knife wielding motherfuckers, and give the Eidolon, the twin Eidolon, knives as well, because that's simple weapon proficiency. That's all we need. She has access to that. And I can give them extra attack twice, like you just saw here, and extra offhand attack twice, and give them 2 fucking awesome ass daggers, and watch them Ginsu chef the fuck out of everything, because they'll get like 3 attacks and 3 more attacks by very early in the build. Just saying, very, very cool, very easy to do. They'll be armored up to yin yang. I can give them resistances or immunities or whatever else I want to fucking do. Breath weapon, just for fun. Increase their dex, increase their strength, whatever. I can totally do that shit. And I'm saying that I'm kind of in love here with the twin summoner build, quite frankly, right now. And there's a lot of cool shit, and there's a lot of cool shit coming down the pipe. Just saying. With that, my name is Brother Mutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think about these spells. Was there something about the spell that I was saying wrong, or something that I was missing for them? This is amazing. I can't believe you didn't tout this more. Or this one's garbage. I can't believe you even suggested it. Post that down below, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.